Alrighty, hello everybody, and welcome to Lunch and Learn today. My name is Jeremy. I'll be leading our call today. Happy to answer and help with any questions that anyone might have about decisions. Before I get started on doing that, if anyone has any questions, please feel free to type them up in the Q&A. I'd be happy to discuss any questions that we have, and I'll do my best to answer and help out with you know, any uh, any questions and things. While you guys are typing those things up, I'm going to go ahead and start talking about some of our usual things that we like to highlight here before we get started. A couple things that I just want to push everyone to kind of think about and check out. Check out our YouTube channel. So if you're interested in any interesting content, we make a lot of great things, some new things coming up here and there when we have new updates to different versions and things like that. We always post up really cool things on there, as well as that's where all of our lunch and learns end up. So if you asked a question on a lunch and learn or something like that, and you're looking for more information or are curious about that, anything like that, you can go check out our YouTube channel, and there's some really pretty cool things in there. Um, so you can do that. You also have our solutions marketplace. If you're interested, you go to marketplace.decisions.com or use that QR code, and you can get a great list of a lot of really cool accelerators and other neat things that you can check out that might give you some good ideas of what you want to build, or maybe just some really cool applications that you can use alongside your builds and decisions. There's a lot of really cool ones that utilize AI. There's some pretty neat ones that help like track your processes and just report on things for you and stuff like that. So definitely worth checking out. And then we've got this last QR code. This is relatively new. If you've been to our lunch and learns recently, last week or so, you probably have seen this announcement being made, but I will bring this up again. And that is that Decisions is actually joining forces with Process Maker to create something truly transformative. It's a combined company that's designed to expand what's possible. So this is going to give you the power to move faster and operate smarter with greater flexibility and control over software and systems. So if you want more information about this combination, you can check out that QR code right there. And that's going to include a link to the full press release and like a blog that's linked in that as well. If you're interested, definitely check that out as well. All right, those are all my main announcements. We will go ahead and move on to some questions and things. So let me switch my screen share. And then I do see one question in the chat, so we'll be able to go right into that. All right. All right, this is from Anonymous. I'm currently attempting to use the raw SQL step in a flow to query a simple data structure that I've created within decisions. I have yet to get the step to run successfully. Each time I run the flow, it fails to find the data structure. As far as I'm aware, this is possible to do, but there's very little information about the step and how to properly configure it that I have found. Would it be possible to run through setting this step up and having it run a query? Um, Yes, we can talk a little bit about that. I do want to highlight a couple things that are kind of important to take note of. With regards to setting up like queries and things, um, while yes, you can use the raw SQL step, if it is like a specific query that you're trying to use, um, where am I? If you go to data types, you can actually query, like set up your own query integrations with like a specific database. And to have it set up to connect with whatever you're trying to work with. So this is actually a really simple way that you can do this without even needing the query integration. So I can just set up a query integration. I did that really fast. Let me just make sure I do that again in case. So it's under data types. Like when you create a data type, there's an integrate database integration section here. And if you go into that, there's a whole bunch of things you can make, table integrations, relationships, stuff like that. But there is a query integration that you can set up in here. And then when you create this, you can pick the connection. If you have any additional databases, you'll see them here. So like I have this amusement park database that I'm also connected to, or local connection is the one that my decisions is installed against. So I can open up the local connection. And then here I can just use the query editor that we have within decisions to query my database and whatever I'm looking for. So this is like with my local connection, I can query that specific data structure that you're looking for. I don't remember what my data structure is for now, but I can just pull this case entity example. But while you're working through this query integration, you can, set it up however you want. This, and then you can run it, test it, check and see that it's actually fetching what you're trying to get it to fetch, and get all those things working. So if you're trying to run some specific queries, this, I believe, is actually the preferred method to set up queries. Once you get this set up and you have it working, um, you give it a name and then you save it. This is actually a step that you can now just grab in your toolbox within decisions. So if you're looking for just setting up queries, this is really the best way to do it. Plus, this is all of your testing can happen right here. So you can run the query, add your, all of your, blah, blah, blah. Sorry, losing words. Like add all of your conditions into this. I'm not like a great at query stuff. But like select from, where clauses, like whatever other things that you want, and you can run it and see the actual data here in the database. So like, again, this is my select query for this case entity that I have. I hit run and I can see that it works. I haven't saved this yet. So this is like a great way I can do a lot of testing and make sure that it's doing what I want it to do, fetching what I want it to fetch, stuff like that, to get exactly what I'm looking for. So I think this is probably the preferred method, and then you save it and it creates a step for you, and then you can just pull that step. Um, I know that we kind of like shy away from the raw SQL step as much as possible. I know that it can be used, but I would think that this is your best option here. And if there's still some kind of problem with this, or some reason that you prefer not to do it with this method, then you can look further into the raw SQL. But unless you know of a reason otherwise, I would say work on doing it through here first. And I know it's anonymous, so I'm not 100% sure who asked that question. So if I answered you sufficiently, please let me know. Um, I don't know if I need to unmute someone, or if you'd like to raise your hand or something, I could unmute you and you can let me know if that's what you're looking for, if you wanted more information. Okay, perfect, awesome. Yeah, and I know that the other things that the obvious is fetch entity stuff like that. You can always grab, oh, I already have fetch entities. You can always grab fetch entities and like add criteria into them, which is very similar to like a select from with a where clause, and stuff like that. You could do that too, but those are a little bit more limited. So if you want the full power of a query, I would add the query integration. And then if that's still giving you trouble, I think support would be the best way to make sure that you're using the raw SQL step correctly, if that doesn't quite achieve what you're looking for. Another thing, is there a module that allows decisions to work with Linux systems? I don't know the specifics of which modules we have, but I can look at this stuff here and see what we've got. I don't know exactly the specifics of how you would set them up. I know I've seen them done before with like setting up containers through decisions that are run using Linux. Um, Training team used to do something with that, but unfortunately, I did not do anything with the like setup of that. Um, I was mostly just told, all right, here we have this, open it up and, you know, type these things in to uh, troubleshoot with them. So it might not be directly in here. I don't know if that means you'd have to set something up separately, um, unless that's something on our documentation site that I'm not aware of. I can see if we have something there about that, but let's see. Yeah, we have a bunch of documentation about like setting up containers with like Linux systems, but I don't know if that's exactly what we're looking for there. Um, but that at least leads me to believe that there's at least some kind of connection that maybe you don't even necessarily need to set up, at least from modules. But yeah, unfortunately, I don't quite know enough more about that. I'd have to look more into it. Um, or if you want to elaborate a little bit more on what you're looking for, I have maybe get a little bit more of an idea of what I can look into. Um, if we're looking for more. Okay, yeah, sure. We do have like stuff like this. This is like container specific stuff that runs on like Linux systems. So if it's container specific, we've got plenty of documentation on it. I'd encourage them to take a look at that, for sure. But yeah, otherwise, yeah, I'd need maybe a little bit more information on what we're looking for. If you want to come back or like have like more of a discussion on it, just let me know. You can email training@decisions.com and we can bring it up again at another lunch and learn for sure. And we can talk a little bit more about it if we get more specifics. We'd be happy to look a little further into it and get more information for another session for sure. Just email training@decisions.com if you want. If you have Once you get more information, we can definitely get more for you. All right. Any other questions? So far, I don't see anything. Um, so what we can do for now, I actually have Kirsten here on this call, and what she can do is she can take over the screen share and demo a little something. And then if you come up with other questions, feel free to type them up, and we can jump back to those after she's done. Go ahead, Kirsten.
Cool. Hey, thank you. All right, let me grab screen share. Ready, set, go. Nope. Is it going?
Nope.
I have to hit the
Not
share
yet.
button.
There it goes.
Yay. Okay. Cool. All right. So I am Kirsten. I am the product manager for the form, page, and report designer area, typically our UI elements. And we are coming out with, it's currently in testing slash development, but we are coming out with something called Theme Manager that overall will assist in creating easier to use and apply and edit CSS for your forms, pages, and reports. So I already have a theme here. Let me make sure I have things up. Okay, I already have a theme here. And I'm just going to edit it just for time's sake, because there's a lot to configure here, and we're still working on a little bit of performance. My local is very slow. But essentially, this theme builder allows you to name the theme. If you go back and you edit it a handful of times, you get version numbers. But this here allows you to see and make changes to page background, form background, dialogue background, your heading, your fonts, the styling of your fonts, your form controls, how they behave, not how they behave, I'm sorry, but how they are styled, rounded corners, what colors are applied to them, essentially so you don't have to do a bunch of CSS generating and back and forth, because the way that we currently allow you to use custom CSS can be a lot of trial and error. So this here, you have all of your settings on the left, and then you get an immediate preview on the right. So if I want to change my link color to purple, it changes, and select files changes to purple. Let me just change that back. We've got buttons, secondary buttons, and primary buttons. And here is a tricky thing. So it's slightly tricky. We've got help text on the secondary button. For secondary buttons and headers. For secondary buttons and headers, you will still have to apply a class name to the button that you want to be secondary. So you'd have button secondary, and then on the form itself, you would need to go to that button and under view and class name, add button secondary. But essentially, Theme Builder just allows you to visually see what colors you're changing, what styles you're changing, how you're changing it. I didn't make any changes to this one. This is the default. We can just pick a couple of changes here just to see how they behave. The toggle buttons you can interact with to see what colors look best with your theme, your branding. And then on the actions tab here, this is how you're going to apply them. So there's a couple of different ways. We have set theme as default styles for this project, which will apply this theme to every generated words. My brain just shut off. Every generated UI element. So if you create a form, a page, a report, it'll apply to that, but not system generated forms. And then you update it and it will update that theme. And then we can save. You can also download the less file. So if you're more comfortable with, if you want to go in and make a theme, download the less file, add some stuff to the less file, and then re-upload it as a CSS/less document in the CSS folder. You can do it that way. Or you can export the theme to import into another environment. This themes also work on check-in and check-out. So if you're working in a repository environment, themes will move with the project as it moves throughout those different environments. So I'm just going to close this one because I don't know everything that I changed and see this applied. Excuse me. So I have a page here, and this actually has a different theme on it. Let me pull up. Are there any? I don't have the chat pulled up. Is there any questions,
There's
Jeremy?
one question.
Okay.
Justin asked, will this allow you to create custom CSS classes for specific elements at some point?
At some point, maybe. At the moment, no. So if you need to apply custom classes, then you still need to do it the current way, where you would go in and you would add that on a CSS file and then upload that or connect that to the page in the designer itself. But I'll take note of that. That might be a good enhancement we could do. Okay, so let's see, we have the way that themes also work, very similar to, I guess, we have project constants and other things that can be reused if they are within a dependent project. So I have only one theme. Let me go back. I'm kind of jumping around. I'm sorry. I have one theme here, but I also have a dependent project. So this project is connected to another one. And if I want, that theme is set as my default. Um, but in the same spot that we have our style sheets where CSS is, we have a new theme drop down. So this other dependent project that I have has a handful of themes in it. And if I want to override it at the element level, I can do that within the designer. If I want it to be the default, I can leave it blank and the default will apply. But for this one specifically, I have prod team demo and it shows and everything is here, the highlight, the select. I guess I might not have a select CSS on there. And then on forms, there's another feature coming out in 9.18 that I am really excited about. It's pretty cool, but it's not as cool as as theme manager. But so this form here has that theme applied to it. But additionally, for 9.18, we've added a interaction effect on a list of buttons. And right now that interaction is confetti. So if you click a button, you get a shot of confetti and you can configure how much confetti, how often, when it fades, all of that fun stuff. But this form here has that theme applied. And then I have my confetti on my outcome button as well because it's fun to mess with. But on the form itself, I do have the theme Lunch and Learn applied. And as I change it here, it should also change to my other theme. So I can see it within the designer as well. Um, I don't know what my other themes are. I don't think that one had a background at all. So yeah, that's pretty much Theme Manager. It's really just supposed to make applying branding styles much less of a headache than it currently is. Any
That's
other
awesome.
questions? Nothing else?
So far, nothing else in the chat, but those
Cool.
are pretty cool updates.
I'm
That's
gonna
exciting.
run this one more time and then I'm gonna hand it back to you.
I'm gonna make sure that
Oh,
confetti is
actually,
required on all of our training projects from now on.
yes. If you pass, you get a shot of confetti. It's pretty cool. So kind of in um aligned with theming, you can add the colors of your branding if you like. You want your confetti to match your branding environment, then go for it. Play count is really just how often that effect is going to happen after you click it. So if it's once, then it'll only shoot off one time. If it's 10, you're going to get 10 sparks of confetti. um, Interval is just how much time between the play counts. And then fade speed is how long that one time, the one play count will fade, how long it will take for that to fade. And then particles is how sad or happy do you want your confetti to be. So if you got 10 particles, then it's a sadder confetti than if you have 500. So that's we're trying to set this up to actually be a little useful later down the line, to be interaction based as opposed to just straight confetti. So like maybe eventually some enhancements here would be a button shake effect. When you click the button, it shakes a little bit just to give you that feedback that you have clicked it. Or a loading indicator on the button itself, like those gradients that kind of like a gradient bar that shows you something is loading, or other fun things like fireworks and snowflakes or stuff like that. So there is real use here, but we started with confetti because it's really fun. It brings joy to everybody's life. But really, that's all I had to demo. So if there's no other questions, I can hand it back off.
All right. Yep, I'm not seeing anything else. So thank you very much for sharing. That's awesome.
Yeah, yeah, of course.
Cool stuff. All right. Well, I will share my screen back to here and I'll give it like another minute or so. If anyone has any other questions, last chance. Speak now or forever hold your peace. Otherwise, we can end a little early today. All right. Well, we will go ahead and just end a little bit early then. And we will continue Lunch and Learn next week. Keeping in mind that Thursday is Thanksgiving in the US, so we will not do Lunch and Learn on Thursday, but the rest of the week, I believe there's no conflicts, so we should all still have Lunch and Learn mostly normal next week, except for the last day. So thank you all for joining. Thank you for those that asked the questions. Thank you to Kirsten for destroying or displaying some really cool version 9.18 stuff. And I look forward to seeing everyone in Lunch and Learns in the future. Hope you all have a great rest
Bye.
of your day, great rest of your week, and great weekend.